I've been wanting to build another watch for a while now, and today is the day. We're going to be putting together a really cool watch with an integrated bracelet design that's based off the Tissot PRX. It's been a while since I built a watch, so hopefully everything goes smoothly. Let's get everything set up and start building. As far as the tools go, there's only a few that you need to use to get the job done. A set of watch hand pushers to install the hands, a movement holder, a dust blower to keep all the parts clean, a case back opener, some finger gloves so you don't get fingerprints on anything, and I like to use a magnifier visor mainly to get the seconds hand installed, but it is definitely useful to install all the hands with. I haven't opened up the parts yet, so I'm really excited to see how they all look. So for the movement, we're using the tried and tested Seiko NH35 automatic. It's easy to use and very common in watches. The dial is absolutely gorgeous. The case has a familiar design to the Tissot PRX, some really nice polishing and brushing throughout the case, and a really thin profile. The hands are pretty standard and will go great with the dial. Ties everything together nicely. This is the stem that should screw into the crown on the case and fit into the movement we're using. And the bracelet, it's an integrated watch, so there aren't the traditional end links to attach the bracelet to the watch. The links go directly onto the case, creating an integration between the bracelet and the case. It's definitely a more unique design and it looks really cool. So the first step is installing the dial onto the movement, so let's get that prepped. On the back of the dial, there are posts that fit into the movement to keep it in place. Oftentimes, it comes with multiple posts, and you need to cut certain ones depending on the movement you're using. It's easy to figure out which needs to stay by lining it up against the movement and seeing where the holes line up. Removing the posts that you don't need is super easy. I like using pliers to gently bend and pull it off. Let's get the other one removed off the other side of the dial. I'm really loving how this waffle pattern looks. Before we install the hands, we want the movement to be at the 12 o'clock when the date changes, so let's wind it up and get it to that point. Okay, sweet, it's time to install the hands. I've done this a couple dozen times now, and every single time I do it, I still get a little nervous. The hour hand goes first. This is looking good. Let's double check the hour hand is in the right place before getting the minute hand installed. Line up the hand as best as I can and press down on the tool. Let's check the winding and make sure it's still good to go before we get the seconds hands, which could definitely be my Achilles heel. Basically, there's a tiny hole on the seconds hand that fits onto the post on the movement, and that's how it keeps it in place. This is where my magnifying visor comes in handy to help really see what you're doing. All right, the moment of truth. Did I get the seconds hand on right? everything is looking really solid. I'm definitely pleased with how that went. It's always just a little stressful and a big relief once you get the hands on. Now that we got that done, we could prep the case and blow it to clean it all up. Removing the case back is easy with the tool, but it seems to be pretty loose, so it's letting me just use my hands, which is quite convenient. Before we can install the movement into the case, we do have to get the stem off, and I like to use the movement holder to get that done. There's a small lever that you push down on that releases the stem, so you could just pull it out. Now we can take the stem and screw it onto the crown. Nothing to it, just twist it on. Let's clean everything up one more time just to make sure it's all good to go. Noticing something stuck on the dial or crystal later on and having to open it back up is never fun, and that's speaking from experience. To install the movement onto the case, you just line things up. There's a crown hole on the movement that lines with the hole where the crown goes through in the stem. Once you have it lined up, press down, lock it into place, and you are GTG. Simple as that, and now we're ready to get the stem into the movement and get the case back on. Everything is going really smoothly and the quality is on point. Let's just double check the hands are lined up and the date change happens at midnight. The bracelet uses quick release spring bars, which makes it a lot easier to install, and you don't have to use any tools, which is a bonus. All you have to do is squeeze the pins together and line up the bracelet to the case, and voila, bracelet is installed. Let's get the other side done, and then the most exciting part of any build, seeing how it looks on the wrist. I am so blown away by how this looks. This is just absolutely incredible. Wow. Well, we do need to size the bracelet, so let's remove some links. It looks like 2 on each side. It uses screws to keep the links in place, which is pretty straightforward. Get a tiny flathead screwdriver and gently place it in the groove on the screw and twist it out. Repeat a few times, and hopefully you guessed how many links you need to remove the first time, but you may need to add or remove more. This is seriously looking so darn good. I didn't expect the bracelet to pop so much. It's such a cool design, how it integrates into the case. Holy smokes, like this is nuts. Like look at this thing. It is just so freaking awesome and it looks so perfect. I'm really happy, and yeah, everything went pretty darn smoothly with this build. Didn't run into any problems, and I am definitely going to be keeping this on the wrist for a pretty long time. Yeah, this definitely plays. Well, that's all the time. I hope you had fun watching me put together this PRX style watch. I'll see you next time.